I'm Jesse Lane, and today we're going to talk a little bit about how to become an improvisational musician. First, what do we mean by improvisation? Well, quite simply, in musical terms, improvisation is the spontaneous playing or spontaneous composition, if you will, of musical ideas. This is a very broad and general definition that will get you pretty much anywhere you need to be, as long as you can keep that in mind. This is not to say that because you're improvising, you're going to be playing completely recklessly and not without a thought of anything that you're playing over or with or under. You do have to consider those things, and that's my personal philosophy. If you ask some other people might say, well, improvisation is anything that is created in any way. My personal philosophy is that when you're improvising, you do have to have some sort of foundation of what's going on. You have to have some sort of concept of who and what you're playing with and in what appropriate style you're doing that. Again, this is just my personal take on it. But what I'm going to show you is, for guitar, how to begin building some confidence in your own improvisation through some simple playing exercises that will be fun at the same time as will teach you a lot. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the concept of playing with a software-based music sequencer. This particular one I'm using is called iReal Pro. You can find it online. It's available for downloads, maybe $29, and it's well worth the money. Now, there's nothing like playing with other people, and if you have that ability to do so, and you can learn while you're doing it with other players, that's even better. But for playing and practicing at home, because you probably won't always have someone else available to jam or play with, it's good to have one of these. Now, I've created a sequence. It's C major 7th, a very easy chord to play. Everybody should know that by now. If you're an intermediate level guitar player, there's your C major 7th chord. And what I like to do with these sequences is I like to play just with drums and bass. You can play with other chord accompaniment instruments, and in the software program you can choose to turn down the piano so that you won't hear any other chords. So that means you can play chords as the guitarist, and you can be having a rhythm section accompaniment of just bass and drums. And I particularly like this because I think it's important for guitar players to be, interspersing their melodic improvisation with some harmony as well, or with some chords, in other words. So I have this set at 100 beats per minute. It's not very fast. I think that's a good tempo to start with. I have 8 repeats of this, and let's hear what happens. I'm just going to play some simple stuff, and I'll dictate what's going on as I play. I'm going to play C major 7th arpeggio. I'm making up my own rhythm. E, F, G. I'm going to bring it up an octave. Another C major 7th arpeggio. Repeated note figure, D for the 9th. Back to our E, F, G, B in there. Little lower neighbor chromatic tones. And on the 9th. So that was, I was trying to keep it slow, trying to keep it relatively simple, but essentially what I did was I worked through 3 major, and when I say major, I should say 3 principal ideas, 3 principal fingerings, position areas on the guitar, and I'd like you to try to take a similar approach. So C major 7th, starting on the 3rd fret of the 5th string. This is the 2nd position, by the way. C, E, G, B, And I also added this D here. Okay. Each of those notes can be slid into using the same finger that you use to play the actual note. You don't have to necessarily do it exactly like that. It'll sound kind of repetitive if you do it that way. But I was doing something like that, or then I did some kind of E, E, F, G. Why did I do E? Because E is the third of that C major 7th chord. 1, 3, 5, 7. Thirds tend to have a really consonant sound that is nice for improvising in general. So I chose that. Then I have an E note up here. I decided to bring that figure up an octave. How do I know this is an octave? Well, if we use our octave shape, skip a string, skip 2 frets, you get the E octave. Take that same figure, bring it up into this area on the guitar. This is the 5th position. So this is just on the 2nd and 1st strings, E, F, G, or 5th fret, 6th fret, 8th fret. Then we have 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret on the 1st string. So E, F, G, A, B, C. Then I started to... This brings me into our next area, 7th position. This is a classic C major 7th arpeggio as well. C, E, G, B. And then up on the 10th fret, 1st string, you have the D. I added a little F sharp in there. I probably shouldn't have done that. It's a little above what we're doing now, but just kind of heard it. And that happens in improvisation. That's an E. And then you got, so that's all an octave of this first note that you start with. E here, E here, E here, E there. And I ended up landing on that C with a D in the top. That D creates a 9th sound. Now what I'm going to do now is play in a different style where I actually will use some chords so you can hear what it sounds like when you have the sequence playing with just bass and drums. I'm going to play some chord accompaniment in what would be called a trio style. So trio meaning you playing with yourself as a guitar player and bass and drums. That's it. So you have to fill in some chords to keep things feeling cohesive. So let's try the same thing with some chords. So there's a lot of different chords I used in there. I didn't really do anything bass heavy. You will notice that because we have a bass player. So I was doing things like this. Taking the bottom note off of that C major 7th chord. You get something like that. G, B, E natural. Then you have something like this. G, C, E, B. So that's an inversion of a C major 7th. And of course our C major 7th up here. C, E, G, B. Then we get C, G, B, E. And then I think I just did a G, B, E at one point, and I think I also did a B, E, G. I think I also hit some Lydian sounding stuff in there with F sharps. But anyway, that's a simple introduction to better improvising, and we'll continue this in another video. But for now, if you have any questions, let me know, and we'll see you next time.